Hmm? You'll be busy looking on the video. Okay. So the following deductions can be made from all the definitions and concepts of rural development. I think uh, we discussed almost three, if not four, definitions of rural development. So the following deductions have been made. It means rural development is a process whereby concerted efforts are made in order to facilitate significant increase in rural resource productivity. Concerted efforts, combined efforts to increase rural resource productivity with a central objective of enhancing rural income and increasing employment opportunities in rural communities for residents to remain in the area. So if we talk of urbanization, most rural people be moving from the rural areas to urban areas just in search of jobs. What if you bring the industries to the rural areas? It means people will remain in the areas. So if we find ways to improve or ways in which people can generate income in the rural areas, people can remain in the rural areas. Even this congestion we are talking about in the urban areas can be reduced. And it is an integrated approach to food production, provision of physical, social, and institutional infrastructure, with an ultimate goal of bringing about qualitative changes, which culminate in improved standard of living of rural populations. So it's about having it has in an integrated approach. It does not only focus on one aspect. It looks at food production, provision of physical, social, institutional infrastructures. At the end, the aim is to improve the standard of living of the rural people. They can meet or they can have access to meet the basic needs. It is a systematic and integrated process designed to improve socio-economic and cultural life for rural dwellers that are characterized by peasant and subsistence agriculture, increased production, agrarian production and processing of export crops, with a view to broadening the revenue base of the state, improving social, economic and cultural lives, education of the people, the health status of the people. If we talk of inequalities within the community, empowerment within the communities, empowering the people maybe who are marginalized. So at the end of the day, it helps in bringing revenue in the country. More especially if if people generate income or you produce products which you can manage to export outside the country, you can generate some income and revenue. So it is an effort to improve the living standards of farmers. The effort is to improve the living standards of farmers. As we said, one aspect of rural people that we have looked into is like rural people, their main occupation is agriculture. Their main occupation is agriculture. That's why we talk of farming, because most of the rural people, they're involved in farming. If you can do a survey, if you can check, you realize maybe in a village of 25 households, maybe 23 people, households relying on agriculture. Maybe only one or two households, maybe they can be mentioning other occupations or maybe other things like maybe doing businesses. But most rural people, they depend on agriculture. Not just agriculture, but subsistence agriculture, just for consumption. And maybe they sell part of it to buy some basic necessities. Let's look at rural mass poverty. A higher percentage of people in the rural areas are in absolute poverty. People who cannot even manage to buy food, to buy basic necessities, even the housing, the shelter. you realize it's not even conducive for human survival. So over the past 20 to 30 years, there has been virtually no improvement in the situation of the rural people. No improvement. We've been talking about rural development, but how much is happening on the ground? So even with countries having positive development records, the problem of mass poverty in rural areas has not been solved. Even in countries having positive development records, problems of mass poverty has not been resolved. We still have a big proportion of rural people staying in absolute poverty. A bigger portion of the people in the rural areas, they live in poverty. So why rural development? Why? I think we discussed already. In most developing countries, there is widespread of poverty in rural areas. So the focus of rural development is in the focus of development is mostly in the rural areas due to widespread poverty in the rural areas. And rural areas lag far behind urban with regards to social, educational, technical, and economic infrastructure. They lag behind if you look at educational levels, or if maybe enrollment, school enrollment. If you look at school dropout, you realize most of the people who drop, like children who drop out of school, they're in the rural areas. So there are a lot of issues in the rural areas that necessitates the issues of rural development. However, for most of these countries, agricultural activities in the rural areas constitute the greatest proportion of foreign exchange earnings, in addition to satisfying other domestic needs. Just like us, we depend much on agriculture as a country. I think almost 80% of our GDP comes from agriculture. We are not an industrious country. We don't produce like from the industries. We don't manufacture a lot of products. All we know to export is agricultural products, forage, soya, and other cotton, maybe sunflower. So it is therefore follows that for any significant improvement of standards of life in such conditions, the rural areas, which comprise the majority of the population and contribute substantially to the country's economy. So it needs to be developed. It contributes, like a larger proportion of most developing countries resides in the rural areas, which contributes a lot to the country's economy, because our economy is more especially the developing countries depends on agriculture. So these areas needs to be improved. It needs to be improved. Actually, you guys, I gave you a reading assignment. You remember the group? You did that assignment, reading assignment. You did, right? Yeah, let's look at the goals of rural development. What are the goals of rural development? I'll start giving marks to participants, more especially if I give a reading assignment or discussion assignment, so that maybe you will be forced to participate. Actually, next week, I'm not teaching. I'm giving you assignments, and you'll be needed to present, and it will constitute about 20 to 30% of your assignment that you already submitted. Because in most cases, if I give assignments, most students don't do the assignment. That's why I was requesting for names. But madam, I have to go to Sana, and I texted you, my phone is not working. I texted you on the 15th. I texted you on that, and I go to some let me just You know, it's easy. Like WhatsApp doesn't store messages for a very long time. The moment you lose your WhatsApp, everything is gone. So for me, WhatsApp is not an official way of communicating. At the same time, my email, imagine all the classes, everyone sends assignment to my email. So you need to meet Dumani. If
I went there, like I went every day. They told me where to talk because you're my classmate.
I mean, okay, is it still not working? Because if it's about fixing, it's him to fix. For me, after fixing, maybe then you can come to me, madam.
You know what? The assignment is not there. It's on. Panova, because you did another Nabida.
Did you write the assignment?
Yeah.
Say hi again so that I can see your message. I know other students, when they are late, they come with a lot of complaints. That much I know. So, yeah, just say hi to me, then I will check it out. Then I will grant you permission to send your assignment. Yeah. I like it if people communicate. So if you communicated on the 15th, then it means like it wasn't your fault. So it's okay if you communicated. But for someone who did not communicate anything and they come today, madam, my portal is not working, I'll be like, so you have realized today. You see? So I'll grant you, just text me, I'll grant you permission to send today. Yeah, today or tomorrow, that's okay. Yeah. So what are the goals of rural development? What are the goals of rural development? Me? Yeah, so the goals of rural development, as summarized by Akari, includes generation of new employment, job creation of employment opportunities. Because if you improve the rural areas, maybe there is good road network, you have industries. At the end of the day, people can get employed in those industries. So it helps in generation of new employment. The rural development will provide opportunities for people to get employed. So people have employment opportunities. Just like, for example, if you're doing road construction, in the rural areas, definitely people will be employed. Even if when you are doing different projects in the rural areas, people will be employed. And even after, if you come up with industries or companies, people will be employed in those companies or industries to work in there. So it gives, or it helps in creating new employment opportunities. Because in the rural areas, as we said, the main occupation is only farming. That's why most of us, even if we are staying in urban areas, but we come from the rural areas. After completing our education, we know we cannot work in the rural areas. In most cases, maybe there are only few professions which are found in the rural areas. When are they teachers, police, but in other areas, you won't even find those people. You find health centers in the rural areas. You don't have workers there. Sometimes it happens. So rural development is necessary. If you bring in good road network, communication network, people will be willing to stay in the rural areas. So even the issue of urbanization can be tackled so easily. More equitable access to arable land. More equitable access. Equitable. People should have equal access to arable land. As I said, it talks about equality, the issues of equity. If only section or certain members of the society are the ones benefiting or having access to land, rural development will help in equitable access to that land. And also improvement in health. Improvement in health. As I said, rural development focuses in all aspects of life, including the health of human beings. Their health needs to be improved. Their nutrition, housing. So the aim is to have people in good health, with good nutrition, having good housing. So that's the goal of rural development. And also broaden opportunities for all individuals to realize their full potential through education. Opportunities for all individuals to realize their full potential through education. Everyone should have access to education. A strong voice for all people in shaping their decisions and actions that affects their lives. A strong voice. The issues of empowerment. If people are empowered, they can have a voice so that they are able to make decisions, the right decisions that affect their lives. So that's those are the goals of rural development. So the aforementioned goals are long-range goals, but they provide the guidelines for short-range actions and the framework for rural development strategies. They give you a framework for rural development strategies. So you find strategies to achieve those goals. If you to achieve what you want to achieve by using these goals. For example, if you are talking of widespread improvement in health, it means you can easily come up with strategies that will improve the health of the people, the education of the people. So having these goals will help you to come up with strategies to develop those rural people. If the goal is to generation of new employment, so the strategies, the activities that you set up, you make sure they will help you to achieve that goal. So this goals helps to come up with strategies to deal with the problems that the people in the rural areas are facing. If you can see, the goals are focusing on different aspects. You cannot only have one goal, because of we have different aspects that needs to be dealt with, like the different problems that people face. It's not only the educational issues, the health issues. So the strategies, like these goals, will help you to come up with strategies. The activities, what activities can you come out, can be carried out to improve maybe the housing of the rural people. So the main objective of rural development, like the overall objective of rural development, is to raise the economic and social level of the rural people. This is just the overall objective of rural development. The major objectives, we have so many specific objectives, but we'll just look at the major objectives of rural development. Some of them include to achieve enhanced production and productivity in rural areas. To achieve enhanced production and productivity. So if you are coming up with development initiatives, you focus on these objectives, and these objectives will help you to come up with strategies on how the goal can be achieved to bring about greater socioeconomic equity, fairness. When it comes to socioeconomic benefits, there's need for fairness to bring about spatial balance in social and economic development, to bring about improvement in the ecological environment. As we said, rural development focuses on all aspects, including ecological environment. We also want the environment to be improved. If the environment is degraded, and rural development, most of the rural development effort focuses on agriculture, it means our agriculture won't be successful. Our effort cannot be successful. So we also need to manage the ecology, the ecological environment, so that it may be conducive to growth and happiness, and to develop a broad-based community participation in the process of development. To develop a broad-based community participation in the process of development. As we said, rural development requires participation of the rural people. You don't need to impose or just to do everything by yourself. Rural people need to be involved from decision making to inception of the development initiatives. so that they can honor the activity, the development activity which is happening. It helps in ownership of the development by the rural people or rural community members. So development cooperation, focusing on rural development is very important component for poverty reductions for the following reasons. Development cooperation, focusing on rural development is very important for the following reasons. Approximately 3/4 of the world is impoverished, live in the rural areas. I think I already explained. 3/4 of the world is impoverished. Most of the poorest or poorest people live in the rural areas, and many people in cities are migrant workers and farmers who have left the areas, the rural areas. Therefore, if living standards and income generations in rural areas are enhanced and rural immigrants to cities return to rural areas, excessive population influxes to cities can be reduced, causing poverty in the cities to reduce if uh, we come up with income generation activities in the rural areas. It means we can help to reduce urbanization, the movement of people who try to seek a better livelihood in the urban areas. So instead, some of them, living in the cities is not easy. Things are expensive. So if you have those income generation activities in the rural areas, some of them could think, oh, maybe I should just move back to the rural area and work in the companies, industries, or any other income generating activities in those rural areas. So it can help to reduce urban population. Because right now, I think we have an increase in urban poverty. Because there are a lot of people moving from the rural areas to urban areas just to find job opportunities. At least maybe if you are educated, it means you'll be trying to look for opportunities, maybe in certain companies. But what about those people? Maybe they don't even have any education. People move from the rural areas. I remember this other lady was saying it's better to stay in the urban areas than the rural areas because it's easy to find maganyu town. Who can give you maganyu in the village? No one. So the excessive population influx in the in the cities can be reduced, and in turn, even poverty can be reduced. And if the issues of crime rate, the increased crime rate can reduce as well. Because when people they can't earn a livelihood, they're trying so hard and they can't earn a livelihood, or they can't find their basic needs. Some people resort to theft. That's why we're having an increase in crime rates in most urban areas. Improvement of rural areas can be a safety net when there is a lack of job opportunities in cities due to depressed economic conditions. Improvement in rural areas can be a safety net. Improvement. We need to improve the rural areas. Also, many organizations in developing countries have recently been shifting to decentralization in order to adequately deal with local needs. Decentralization. What is decentralization? Have one. In order to adequately deal with the problems of the local people. So due to the necessity for an active local economy within decentralization, rural development is receiving increasing attention. Decentralization. People should be they should be there, the driving force of development at a local level. Instead of doing top down, you just come up with the your development initiatives, you just go there to implement. But in most cases, if you want to implement a project, it is necessary to conduct needs assessment. What do the people need in this area? You need to know the need. Sometimes you end up drilling boreholes when their need is fertilizer. Maybe their need ni uphungu chabe umina kufuna. Maybe on issues to do with farming. Some people, they just need uphungu for them to get better in life. So rural development in Malawi, the government is the primary actor in rural development in Malawi, with the Ministry of Agriculture and Natural Resources taking the lead. The government is a primary actor in rural development, and agricultural development activities receive a major portion of the national budget. Agricultural activities and a high priority for training and donor assistance. Most of the donor funded activities, you realize they are in agricultural sector. Kuleta project mbili kwa agriculture. So public investment in the agricultural sector focuses mainly on the 88% of the agricultural population engaged in smallholder farming, as opposed to the 12% working on estates. So 88% are engaged in farming, like only 12% working in estates. So the Malawian rural development strategy is integrated one. It involves the efforts of different ministries, which is seen as complementary and all focusing on rural development. So if we are talking of rural development, as I said, it's not only about agriculture. So it focuses, that's why it's integrated. It involves even other sectors. When we are talking of development, we cannot only focus on agriculture. We need education as well for our societies to develop. We cannot only focus on agriculture. That's why we have different projects focusing on different sectors of the economy. So poverty in Malawi is severe. I'm sure everyone knows about the poverty levels in Malawi right now. And shocks from over-reliance on lead-fed agriculture go hand in hand with long-term food insecurity. We are too much dependent on agriculture. I mean rain-fed agriculture. In other countries right now, you may find green maize. I think we have, I've seen mega farms by Bushiri. I think we saw mega farms. What if that is done on a larger scale? We can be spared of food insecurity, but food insecurity comes because we just depend on rain-fed agriculture. What if we don't harvest enough from rain-fed agriculture? And high disease prevalence has shortened lifespans to an extremely low levels. And rural areas must be the focus of any attempt to tackle this deep poverty, since this is where the majority of the poorest Malawians live. So if we want to reduce poverty, the focus should be rural areas where the majority of Malawians live in the rural areas. Even if you can check statistics, you realize the majority of Malawians live in the rural areas. It's only a small percentage of people living in urban areas. So let's look at facilitating factors in achieving the objectives of rural development. Facilitating. Oh, any questions so far? Are we together? Don't be like this other class I want to mention. Each time I say, are we together? They'll be like, yes. Any question? Yes, madam. We are. It's clear. Come next class, you ask a question, they cannot respond. Not even a single question. So I'm like, do you just want to finish the class, or your aim is to get the knowledge? So when you say let's proceed, it should be let's proceed. We are not here to finish, but to gain knowledge. So facilitating factors in achieving rural development objectives. For rural development objectives to be effectively achieved, Okong 2006 emphasized on the following facilitating factors. Facilitating factors to achieving rural development objectives. So the first one is farmers and small entrepreneurs should be regarded as the centerpiece of rural development. Farmers and small rural entrepreneurs. We are trying to develop the rural areas. So this should be our focus. The small farmers, the farmers and small rural entrepreneurs. That's how we can develop. If you want to develop agriculture or entrepreneurship, we need to focus on the farmers and rural entrepreneurs. And the government should play a minimal role, catalytic and facilitating, and not directly production role in rural development. The government should just facilitate most of these development activities, but not taking a leading role or production role in rural development. Because if we want the rural people to own that development, they need to participate, they need to take full control of the development activities. Otherwise, it's like we are trying to promote the dependency syndrome, especially if you just go there and give the farmers everything they need. But they need to take part in development activities. So to ensure continuity and acceptance, and that externally induced projects are short-lived. Rural residents should be involved in identification, formation, implementation, and evaluation of rural development projects. Involvement of rural people. From identification to evaluation of rural development projects, they need to be involved. Identification, formation, implementation. So it helps to enhance acceptance and continuity of that development. So the development activity becomes sustainable if the rural people are involved from decision making, from planning stage up to evaluation, everything at all stages, in all stages, they need to take part, the rural people. So it should also emphasize institutional coordination, interministerial and interdepartmental linkage. It requires interdepartmental, interministerial linkage. You need a lot of different sectors to take part in rural development, or different departments. Forest department, agriculture department, whatever. All departments need to be working together. So rural development should emphasize institutional coordination of different ministries, of different departments. A development service and amenities should be functionally integrated across different levels of human settlements in rural areas. Should be integrated across different levels of human settlements in rural areas. The target should be everyone in the rural areas. So should be integrated across different levels of human settlement, not just only focusing on one area. Are we together? Me, are we together? Or you are busy looking on the video? So can I proceed? So let's look at indices of rural development indices. Indices of rural development. So according to Akali, the indices of rural development include increase in per capita income, increase in per capita income, more even distribution of income, reduction in the level of unemployment, diversification of the economy, not only focusing on one area, like maybe focusing only on agriculture. We can also focus on entrepreneurship, increase in the supply of high-level manpower through education, balanced development, indigenization of economic activities, good health and standard nutrition, and acquisition of knowledge. So these are the indices of rural development. I think these points are self-explanatory. But point imekuoneka yovuta. Indices, indicators of rural development. How do you know that the rural areas are developed? So you'll be looking at the income, increase in income per capita, distribution of income. Is it even or uneven? Other sectors of the parts of the area are benefiting than the other. What about the employment levels? Is it reduced, like the unemployment? Now you have more people being employed. Diversification of economy. You should not only depend on one source of income for the rural areas to develop. Increase the supply of high levels of manpower, education levels of the people. Balance the development. Development needs to be balanced. Not only focusing maybe on one area or is targeting only a certain proportion of the society, of the community, but needs to be balanced. Indigenization of economic activity, good health and standard nutrition, acquisition of technology. Indigenization is coming from the word indigenous. Acquire. Yeah, acquisition, acquiring knowledge. If people, acquiring technology, like you learn new technology, you have knowledge about new technology. You can use new technology, acquisition of technology. Let's have 5 minutes break. Only 5 minutes. Yeah. So now let's look at planning for development. So this is also somehow long chapter, but today we just start. So we'll be looking at principles of rural development and the meaning of rural development. The meaning of principle and principles of rural development. That's what we'll be discussing. So according to Ono 1998, a principle is a basic truth or a general law determining the existence and regulating the conduct of an organization and distinguishing it from other systems. Principles Usually you have principles, maybe in a group or whatever, you have principles. So you work or you do things according to the set principles. So these are basic truth or general law determining the existence or regulating conduct of an organization. How people within the organization should conduct themselves. So principles of rural development are therefore fundamental and general rules laid down by rural development experts to guide the conduct of rural development programs. Principles of rural development are fundamental, and these are general rules which have been laid down to guide the conduct of rural development programs in a such a way that stated objectives can effectively be achieved. The objectives that we discussed. So there are some rural development principles that needs to be followed for rural development programs to achieve the objectives. So the principles of rural development include accessibility, independence, sustainability, effectiveness, and participation. Accessibility. What does accessibility mean? Accessibility. What is accessibility? What is accessibility? On top of access, easy to find something. What about others? What do you think accessibility? Fatuma says easy to find something. What about independence? Independence. Oh, like ability to make a decision by yourself without anyone helping you. What about others? Independence. Doing doing things on your own without relying on others. What about sustainability? Development which can last longer. What else? Effectiveness. What about effectiveness? Yeah, what is effectiveness? Effectiveness. Eh? The goodness. What about others? Ability of producing desirable outcomes. What about my brother? You haven't spoken today. Hey, but special. Yeah, taking part or being involved in activities. Yeah, so let's look at each one of them one by one. So the first principle of rural development is accessibility. The programs that you are implementing should be accessible to all rural people, to all rural dwellers. They should have access to that development, whether they are peasant farmers, very poor, like poorest people, but everyone. The program must ensure that everyone have access, or the program is accessible to everyone in the rural, in that community. The community we are targeting, the rural community. And all rural people within the target population should also benefit from that development program without anyone benefiting more at the expense of the other. So if a development activity is bringing in benefits, everyone within the community who is supposed to benefit, they should benefit from it equally. Not one benefiting more than the other, but there should be equal benefits. And inaccessibility by major section of rural communities will further aggravate the existing inequalities in rural areas. So inaccessibility to most of these programs, if these programs are inaccessible by maybe major section of the society, it may aggravate the inequalities existing in the communities. So accessibility means having access to the programs, development programs which are happening. Even if there are benefits, everyone should benefit equally. No one should benefit more at the expense of the other. So independence means that any rural development program should be such that helps and supports the rural dwellers, but not make their livelihood 100% dependent on the program. So it should help the rural dwellers or the beneficiaries to be dependent. I mean, to be independent, but not dependent on the program 100%. Of course, they will depend on the program in one way or the other, but it should not be 100%. But it should make sure that they become independent as the beneficiaries. And the rural developer, the developers of the rural development program should always try to ask questions. If the program is discontinued, what will happen to the beneficiaries? If you are a social worker, you are implementing certain projects, your question should be, if the program is discontinued, what will happen to the beneficiaries of that program? So if they are independent, it means they can continue to support themselves. It means if it's income, it means they will have their own source of income. They can make their own source of income. If it is discontinued, they will continue to reap the benefits of that project because they are now independent. Also always being independent. So the moment you pull out or the program pulls out the resources, what will happen to the beneficiaries? So this should be a question to the rural development program planners. If you are planning for a certain project, put that in mind. Anthu akunga ulesi tipakungolira mawani nthawi yakuti. So sustainability. If you are implementing a program, your question should be, you should think of sustainability of the program. If the program is terminated, what about the program? Like the activities which are happening. Are these activities going to continue? Or the moment you pull out your resources, everything ends there? The sustainability. So it means that the program plan and solutions are relevant to the local, social, economic, and administrative conditions of the target population. The program should not be terminated before the stated objectives are achieved. The program should not be terminated before the stated objectives are achieved. If you want to improve health status of the people, the program should not be terminated. And even after termination, like the benefits, like the health status of the people, is it going to continue or end there? If education status of the people, maybe the program was focusing on improving education of girls. After, is it going to continue? Like the girl children, are they going to continue to take part in education or to get enrolled in education? So sustainability means even if you are receiving any other support after, is that program or the benefits which the people are getting from it, are the benefits going to continue? Or on time program yata, everything ends there. So the program should be sustained until the problem of the area has been addressed. So it should not be terminated until the objectives, the health status of the people has been improved. Even after termination, it doesn't mean the health status should go down again. So it means if there's no sustainability, no, not successful, not at all. Effectiveness. So rural development programs should be based on the effective use of resources. The resources should be used effectively so that you can produce the desired benefits from that kind of development. For example, it may be unrealistic to encourage to maximize the use of chemical fertilizer, which may be beyond their reach. Rather, farmers could be trained and encouraged to use local manure on their farms. Effective use of resources. You know, for farmers, it's not easy to procure fertilizer. What about just training them to use the available local resources? So they should use the available local resources to reap the benefits of that project. Otherwise, if you only rely on fertilizer, it's the same thing with on sustainability. If we talk of the issue of subsidy, is subsidy sustainable? For example, if people don't get the coupons, what happens to them? Because the aim is to improve food security. Like at the individual level, what happens? Or even at a national level, is it really helping, or is this helping the other segment of the society, not the poor people? Because in most cases, they receive that coupon, they just go and sell. After selling, they'll just take a portion and kubagula fertilizer wambalo magayizese, maybe, or maybe on a scale. They sell 50 kgs, they'll buy 10 kgs, which is also expensive. So effectiveness, the local resources which are available should be used effectively for the benefit of the community. Participation of the members is necessary for continuity. If you want that program to continue, members of the society need to participate. So participation needs to be at or in all stages, from development, implementation, and evaluation. Rural members need to be involved in all those activities. That's participation. So if you want them to honor the development, they need to be involved. So the rural dwellers should be involved at the various stages of the program, from conception stage to implementation stage. Although it seems there's some disagreement among rural development experts as to what extent or to what level participation of rural population is possible. Much as we say they should participate, but there are some disagreements on to what level should these people, the beneficiaries, get involved in the development process. But they need to be involved. It helps in ownership of that development. They will take it as theirs. So it also helps in continuity of that kind of development. Oh, any question or comment on the principles of development? Eleni, Nia, Patuma. Zina lako ndima yawa? Safina. Yeah, Safina. Patience. Oh, blessings. So any question on blessings, Safina? Are we together? So next week it will be even more participatory because I want everyone to participate. So I'll give you areas to concentrate on. You are just 5, everyone next week. But as I said, I know when I say I'll give as an assignment, most people, they don't come. So what I will do, I'll attach marks between 20 and 30. Marks will be attached to the assignment for attendance and participation. So from now onwards, we'll be doing more of those exercises so that everyone attend the classes. Yeah. So I'll give you different portions, like on which area you are to focus on. That's why I was requesting for all those names so that I know. So you are only 5.
There's another one.
But it doesn't come. Eh?